Hi children, last class we discussed about hand picking, threshing, winnowing. You know hand picking, so usually it may be done with our help of our hand. Means the substances which will be separated. So for example, when we take some rice in the shop, so it contains some husk particles, stones, and other dirt particles. It will be leaves, twigs of the plant. Okay, so it will be separated with our hand is called as. So that is the hand picking. Next, threshing. Threshing is one of the process of separation of substances with the help, means it will be separated the heavier particles and the lighter particles. Whereas this winnowing is also it is one of the process of separation of substances. So next we will discuss about sieving. The name indicates. So last class I will told you that you are seeing in your house. That is when we do the separation of this floor, jardin so jardin so that sieve. See, if you prepare a dish, for example, some chapati or some using some flour, okay, sieving allows the fine flour particles to pass through the holes of the sieve. Then the bigger impurities remain on the sieve only. So when we sieve the wheat flour, some impurities are present in that wheat flour. When we sieve that flour, so in the hole, so the small particles it will be sieved. So other the bigger one is it will be remain in the sieve only. So in the flour, many impurities like husk and stones are removed from wheat before grinding it. Usually, a bag full of wheat is poured on a standing slice. The sieving removes the pieces of stones, stalk, and also husk that may still remain in the wheat after threshing and also winnowing. So usually, you observe this work in your home also. So, amma ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ಗೋಧಿ ಹಿಟ್ಟು ಅಕ್ಕಿ ಹಿಟ್ಟನ್ನ ಜರಡಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಜರಡಿನ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಸೀವ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಜರಡಿ ಮಾಡೋದನ್ನ ಸೀವಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಜರಡಿನ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅಮ್ಮ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ನೋಡಿದಿರಲ್ಲ, ಹಿಟ್ಟನ್ನ ಗೋಧಿ ಹಿಟ್ಟು ರಾಗಿ ಹಿಟ್ಟು ಅದನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಸೀವಿಂಗ್. ದ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿಮೂವಿಂಗ್ ದ ಸ್ಮಾಲರ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ಸ್, ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಸ್ಮಾಲರ್ ಫೈನ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ the hard means big particles are remaining in the sieve only. So usually when we see in the construction of building, the pebbles are the stones and the twigs are removed from the sand by sieving. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮನೆ ಹತ್ರ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಮನೆ ಕಟ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು ನೋಡಬಹುದು, ದೊಡ್ಡ ಜರಡಿ ತರ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಕಲ್ಲು, ದೊಡ್ಡ ಕಲ್ಲು, ಸಣ್ಣ ಕಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಶೋಧಿಸ್ಕೊಳಕ್ಕೆ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಅದನ್ನ ಜರಡಿ ತರ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಸ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅದನ್ನ ನೋಡಿರ್ಬೋದು. It will separate the pebbles and stones from the sand. So bring a sieve is one of the activity for you. Bring a sieve and small quantity of flour from home, and you have to do in your home. Sieve the flour to separate any impurities in it. So if you have a wheat flour, take some wheat flour and spread a sheet of paper. So and then you have to sieve the wheat flour. So you observe. So it may be I will use some chalk powders to that wheat flour. Are you separate chalk powder and wheat flour? Is it possible? So no. So it is not possible. So I will mix some rice flour and wheat flour, and I wanted to do. You have to do some flours separately. Two flours separately. Is it possible? No, it cannot be possible. So in that condition, what we have to do? So here is three processes are there. First one is sedimentation, and the second one is decantation, third one is filtration. So these three methods are done only using some mixing of chalk powder, some wheat flours and rice flours and mixing together. Means ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಗೋಧಿ ಹಿಟ್ಟು, ರಾಗಿ ಹಿಟ್ಟು, ಅಕ್ಕಿ ಹಿಟ್ಟು ಎಲ್ಲ ಒಂದೇ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ಅದನ್ನ ನೀವು ಮೂರನ್ನು ಸಪರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಅದನ್ನ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು, ಅಥವಾ ಬೇರೆ ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಚಾಕ್ ಪೌಡರ್, ಸ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಪೌಡರ್ ಈ ತರ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸಸ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ sedimentation, decantation and filtration. See the components of mixture, some separation of components of mixture by winnowing and hand picking. For example, there may be lighter impurities like dust or soil particles in rice or pulses or soil particles in the rice. So how are means you have to separate by even before cooking, is it right? So rice and pulses are usually washed by cooking, means before cooking. ಅಕ್ಕಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬೇರೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ಗ್ರೇನ್ಸ್ ಬೇರೆ ಕಾಳುಗಳು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಕುಕಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಂಚೆ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ನೀರಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಿ ತೊಳಿತೀವಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ರೆ when you add some water to these impurities like dust particles get separated. So it will be washed, the dust particles will be thrown in the water only. These impurities go into water. So what will sink to the bottom of the vessel? The rice or the dust. Have you seen that the vessel is tilted to pour out some dry, dirty water? The heavier component in the mixture settles after water is called as sedimentation. Here, so we have to conclude these three processes. Here is a simple experiment or activity. So take a mixture of soil and water, soil plus water in the glass. Undissolved material. So soil is undissolved. It cannot be dissolved in water. So it is insoluble in water. So the same principle we have to take here. That is the separation of mixture for two liquids that is mixed with each other. So when we take the soil, sand or soil and water, sand or muddy water. You know muddy water. So here we have to mix both the sand and mud water. Okay, it is a mixture of soil plus water. Okay, so settle for 2 to 3 hours. 2 to 3 hours. So it will be settled and slowly, slightly till poured into another glass. The undissolved particle that is called as soil will remains in the glass, and the means one layer so that the upper layer of the mud water, that is water, will be poured into the another glass. So let us again, it is a mixture of solid and liquid, solid and liquid. So this mixture is contained with solid and water, that is the liquid. So the remaining, the settles, the component, the heavier component. Here which is the heavier component? This soil. This soil is the heavier. Soil or sand is the heavier particle. This settles in the means mixture settles after water is added to it. This process is called as sedimentation. Whereas decantation means when water is removed, the process is called as decantation. So in the soil it contains water, so it will be settled. Soil ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಲೋಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಸೆಟಲ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. That settled heavier particle is called as sedimentation. So the water is poured into the another glass. So that method is called as decantation. So the process, when the water is removed, is called as decantation. So these are the two methods usually you will observe in this method. So the separation of two components of mixture by sedimentation and decantation. Clear children? When we take soil plus water is nothing but soil water, means mud water. So this glass remains 2 to 3 hours. 2 to 3 hours ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಈ ಗ್ಲಾಸ್ ನ ಹಾಗೆ ಬಿಡಬೇಕು. ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, heavier particle that is soil, it will be settled in the water is in the above part. That heavier particles settle in the bottom, that is the glass, is called as sedimentation. The water in the upper layer is called as, when we pour into the other glass, is called as decantation. Next, filtration. What is filtration? Filtration is a method. So if you stain some tea with the tea leaves, tea leaves. So which is the separation of leaves from the tea is the best example for filtration. So otherwise, if you are filter some other things, a filter not only aim shows spirals, so that is one of the example for filtration. But here, one activity number 5. Collect some muddy water from a pond or a river. Collect a muddy water from a river or pond. So mix some soil in the water in glass. Let it stand for half an hour. Observe the water carefully and note on the observations. Now slightly tilt the glass without disturbing the water. Let it will be the water from the top flow in the another glass. So the water in the second glass will be muddy. Now filter with the help of the strainer. So after doing the sedimentation and decantation, so these collected water, it will be filtrated. It is not fit for drinking. That's why it will be filtrated. So sedimentation, decantation are made in filtration. A filter paper is one such a filter that has to very fine pores. It is a funnel, glass funnel. It is attached to a stand. And this funnel is still tighted. So a beaker below the funnel is adjusted. Okay, this decanted water is filtered in the filter paper using a filter paper. Okay, filter paper looks like circle. So it is available in the shop in the circle. Okay, so when we fold the first semicircle, after that you have to fold look like a cone. Filter paper round shape allirutte, a round shape alli idana ತಗೊಂಡು cone shape alli ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಈ cone ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈ filter ಈ glass filter ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಬೇಕು. And the mixture is then poured in the filter paper. Solid particles in the mixture do not pass through it and remains on the filter. So we have to take the decanted water. You clear that one? The decanted water means it will be separated from sand. So that the decanted water is not fit for drinking. So the decanted water is poured into this funnel, this glass funnel. So ಈ glass funnel ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು ಆ decanted water ನ pour ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. Okay, slowly we have to pour with the help of a glass tube. So ನಿಧಾನಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಮೇಲೆ ಡ್ರಾಪಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಈ glass tube ಇಂದ ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, glass rod with the help of glass rod also. So only drop na ಹಾಕೋತಾ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. So the solid particles it will remains in the filter paper. Solid particle it will be remain in the filter paper. The lighter one, that is the filtrated water, it will be collected in the beaker. So we have to keep under the funnel. So drop by drop the water, filtered water is collected in the beaker. So this process is called as filtration. So fruit and vegetable juices are usually filtered before drinking to separate what. So what we have to do? So it will be separated to filter seeds, seeds and some salt particles like pulp of the fruits. So ಏನಾದರೂ ಜ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಜ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಫಿಲ್ಟರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಏನ್ ಫಿಲ್ಟರ್ ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ ಸಾಲಿಡ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ಸ್, ಸೀಡ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಪಲ್ಪ್, ಪಲ್ಪ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ, ಫ್ರೂಟ್ ಪಲ್ಪ್, ಅದನ್ನ ಫಿಲ್ಟರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. The method of filtration is also used in the process of cutting cheese in our paneer. You know how to make paneer? So on the boiled water, boiled milk. So pour some lemon, is it right? So after that, egg compared to a cloth. So the heavier, that is the paneer is collected in the cloth, and the lighter the milk is collected in the other measure. So here milk is also, means making paneer also done by with the help of filtration. Next, a few drops of lemon is added to the milk. So usually, so you are doing, I know that, I don't know, so the paneer, making of paneer in your home. So try to do, okay. Next method of the separation of substances is evaporation. So first one is hand picking, pressing, sealing. The most important one is sedimentation, decantation and filtration. Evaporation. See, evaporation. When 2 spoons of salt is added to water in a beaker and stir with the help of glass rod. Take a beaker. So add some salt, 2 spoons of salt to the water. So stir with the help of spoon or glass rod. So what it may be any changes in the color in that water. Can you see any salt in the beaker? No, it will be dissolved in the water. Heat the beaker containing the salt. Let the water boils away. So in this activity is used to do the process that is called as evaporation of mixture to separate water and salt. Water and salt. So here we heat the beaker. So it contains salt and water. The process conversion of that is called as evaporation. Evaporation is a process of conversion of water into vapor. It is a conversion of water into water vapor. Water to water vapor. Evaporation is a conversion of water to water vapor. See, salt, salt. It is available from the sea. So, if we eat this mixture, salt plus water, what happens? So, first method is it may get heat. After that, it will be boiled, and the water vapors will be evaporated. So remaining salt, some salts are present in the beaker. So in this method, we get salt from the sea only. Okay. Common salt is then obtained from this mixture of salts by further purification. So usually in the sea, the water is allowed to stand to shallow pits. So if you are see figure 5.12, that is in a page in the textbook, that is 41 page. So it will be do a shallow pits in the sea. So water gets heated by the sunlight and slowly turned into water vapor through the evaporation. In a few days, the water evaporates completely, leaving behind the solid salts. After the few days, the water is completely evaporated from the shallow pits. Remaining salt is in the shallow pits only. So that is called as common salt when we are using in a home. So use of many more than one method of separation. So take a mixture of sand and salt by the separation. Is it possible to separate with our hand? Is it possible? No. So that's why. So for that we have to do some methods. Which method? Keep the mixture in a beaker and add some water to it. So what happens? So the soil is dissolved or the salt is dissolved? No. The soil does not dissolve in the water, but it is a heavier particle. The salt is completely dissolved in the water. So means you have to do settle for half an hour. The sand settled down. The sand can separate by the decantation the another beaker. That is called as decantation. Now we need to separate salt and water by the decanted liquid. Now transfer this liquid to be a kettle and close it with a lid. Heat the kettle, kettle, tea kettle. It will be heat for some time. So you observe steam coming from the kettle. That is a spot of the kettle. Is it right? Take a metal plate with the help of ice on it. So you observe the 5.13 figure number. Take a metal plate with the help of the ice. If you are taking on a single plate and shown in the 5.13 figure. So when the steam comes in contact with metal plate, cool it with the ice, it condenses and forms a liquid water. The steamed water vapor, it will be condenses in the cooled water vapor. So it is called as condensation. So when you observe, for example, when you boil the water in your home, so that is using a vessel, close the lid. The water vapors, droplets of water vapor are collected on the plates. Is it right? Below the plates. If you take the ice cubes on that plate, the water will be condenses, means it will be cooled. So this method is called as condensation. The cooling of water vapor into the cooled one. That is called as condensation. The process of this water vapor into liquid. Water vapor into the cooled form, what called as liquid. In the evaporation we observe that water is converted into water vapor, whereas in the condensation the water vapor is converted into liquid form. Okay, this is called as the condensation. See children, one more activity for you. Some substances are dissolved. Okay, it may be saturated or unsaturated. What is that mean? Here in the page number 42, activity number 8. So you will need a beaker or a small pan, a spoon, salt and water. Pour half of a cup of water in a beaker. Add some teaspoonful of salt and stir it well until the salt dissolves completely. If you are taken 1 or 2 spoons of salt to dissolve, it will be completely dissolved in the glass of water. Okay, clear? If you take sugar also, only 1 spoon or 2 spoonful of sugar or salt. It will be dissolved completely in water. Okay. Next, after adding few spoons of salt, do you observe that some salt remains undissolved? Clear? So when we take a spoonful of salt, so salt may not 1 spoon first 1 spoon first dissolve it will be dissolved completely. Add few more spoonful of the salt. What happens? You observe that undissolved salts are present in the water. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಸಾಲ್ಟ್ ನ ನೀರಿಗೆ ಆಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಟೈಮ್ ನಿಮಗೆ ಸಾಲ್ಟ್ ಹಾಗೆ ಕಾಣಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ನೀವು ಜ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಶುಗರ್ ನ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹಾಕಿ ಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ಬೇಗ ಕಾಣುತ್ತೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್. ಮತ್ತೆ ಅದೇ ನೀರಿಗೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಶುಗರ್ ನ ಆಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ನೀವು ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ಕೆಲವೇ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಶುಗರ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ಸ್ ಹಾಗೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಅದು ಡಿಸಾಲ್ವ್ ಆಗಿರಲ್ಲ, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕರಗಿರಲ್ಲ. So this means that no more salt can be dissolved in the water. That is the amount of water taken in the beaker. So that is called as saturated liquid or saturated. So means that is called as saturated. Here we may have gone wrong. That is we have large quantity of salt mixed with sand. So mixed with sand, perhaps the quantity of salt was much more than the liquid form. It is a saturated liquid. So that undissolved salt have remained in the beaker. So that is called as saturated solution. Okay. Activity number 9. Take a water somewhere in a beaker and mix salt until it cannot be dissolved in more salt. So this will give you a saturated solution of water, salt water in this activity. So now add a quantity of salt to the saturated solution and heat it. So if you already heat the saturated solution of salt, after that you have to heat the solution. What happens? So the undissolved salt in the bottom of the beaker. So some more salts are dissolved in this solution by heating it. So remaining salt also dissolved in this beaker or after the heating. So let us cool the hard solution. As the salt appears to settle at the bottom, the activity suggests that the larger quantity of salt dissolved in the water on heating. So in this activity, we observe that after heating, some undissolved salt also dissolved. Next, activity number 10. Take 2 glasses and pour a half cup of water in each of them. Take 2 glasses and pour half cup of water in each of them. Add tablespoon or teaspoon of salt to 1 glass and stir it well. So go on adding salt one more time and repeat it this for 2 to 3. Record the numbers of spoons salt in the dissolved water. Here is a table 5.2. Substance that you are using, number of spoons added and dissolved in the water. You have to read and write this table. You have to fill the table. Repeat the means adding of sugar or salt in the water. What happens? So it may be saturated. So some salt or sugar remains in the bottom of the beaker. So this is an example for the saturated solution. Also some dissolved substances or some liquids. So other liquids also you have to try. Okay. For example, if you are making a juice in the home, add some salt, sugar, a pinch of salt and also a lemon. So like that you have to stir well now. For that solution you have to add some more sugar. So observe the recordings. So, okay children. So this is the end of this lesson. So the important hard words. So you are already learned in the last class. That is hand picking, HAND, PICKING, threshing, 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 winnowing, 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 seeding, SIEBING, seeding, sedimentation, SEDIMENTATION, DECANTATION, decantation, FILTRATION, filtration, EVAPORATION, evaporation, condensation, CONDENSATION, condensation. Evaporation means water to water vapor, conversion of water to water vapor. Whereas condensation means water vapor to liquid. And then saturated, SATURATED. Here are fill-ups in your textbook, page number 44. Try to do yourself. That is the method of separation of seeds of paddy from its stalk is called which method? The method of separating seeds of paddy from its stalk is called as the process used to make it, that is threshing. When milk cool after boiling is poured one onto a piece of cloth, the cream, malai, is left behind on it. This process of separation of cream from milk is another example of that is a sieving. So if you are making a paneer now, so that's why salt is obtained from the sea water by the process of evaporation. Impurities settle at the bottom when muddy. Fourth one, that is impurities settle at the bottom when muddy water was kept overnight in a bucket. The clear water was then poured off from the top. So this process is called as what? Filtration. True or false? A mixture of milk and water can be separated by filtration. Is it possible? It is a mixture of water and milk. It cannot be separated by filtration. The answer is false. A mixture of powdered salt and sugar can be separated by the process of winnowing. Is it possible? No. It can be used by only sieving. Is it right? Powdered salt, it will be collected in the below the sieve, and the heavier the sugar is collected in the sieve generally. Separation of sugar from a tea can be done with the help of filtration. Separation of sugar from tea. So the dissolved sugar is separated from tea. No. Grain and husk can be separated with the help of decantation. Grain and husk can be separated by the method called what? Winnowing. So the method is, the process is wrong. Okay? So read the lesson. So write the hard words. If you have doubt, text in the group. Okay children? Thank you.